Hello and welcome back to the Hasbijan YouTube channel. It is Harry here and I've moved house. I'm back in my uni surroundings, so this will be my setup for the next little while until of course we have to go home because of the next lockdown, which is going to occur probably in about a month or so. But for now, this is the setup you're going to have to make do with. I hope you enjoy it. So I thought, what better video to start off at this new place than with a Premier League predictions video. I know it's very original, but I did promise one about a month and a half ago when the Premier League season ended, and here we are. What is important to remember though, this is just my opinion. I'm probably going to be completely wrong on every single count, but I'd like to get at least one or two right, and of course I will react to it when the season ends, which at this rate is probably going to be about 2027. Also, I've left it as late as physically possible so I can see what transfers have occurred over the last few days. So information that I have at my disposal is correct as of the 11th of September 2020, which is the day of this recording. So if Liverpool somehow sign Neymar or Wilfried Zaha leaves Crystal Palace after those days, don't hold me accountable. I'm only going on what I know right now. So without further ado, let's get into the Premier League predictions, or my Premier League predictions, for 2020-21, which starts, hopefully, at the minute this video is uploaded. Of course, some team has to finish last, and unfortunately, I think it's going to be West Brom. Their squad hasn't been significantly improved from the last season in the Championship, with their two major signings, Matheus Pereira and Grady Diangana, both being on loan at the Baggies last season. Furthermore, they finished last season in the Championship in not that good form, very nearly bottling and only not bottling because Brentford managed to somehow do even worse than West Brom in the final run-in. Callum Robinson might be an okay purchase from Sheffield United, but I'm not sure about Slaven Bilic in the Premier League at the moment, especially considering his last employment with West Ham. So sadly, I think the Boing Boing Baggies are going to live up to their nickname once more and go straight back down in last place. In 19th, I have Crystal Palace. I know this is bold, but hear me out. They ended last season with 7 defeats in 8, all in a row, and they scored 31 goals across the entire season, with only relegated Norwich scoring fewer. Plus, Wilfried Zaha wants to leave, and Roy Hodgson is now approaching his 73rd year. Yes, Eberici Eze is a great signing from QPR, and he will provide a creative spark, but I'm still not sure about their momentum, their form, and their attack, even with the purchase of Michy Batshuayi on loan for the whole season. I sadly think that their 8-season stay in the top flight may well be over. The last relegation spot in 18th I've given to Aston Villa. If Jack Grealish stays, Villa have a fighting chance, and I'd be happy to be proven wrong, but if he leaves, they're almost certainly going to go down. Matty Cash from Forest and Ollie Watkins from Brentford both had excellent seasons in the Championship last season, but can they make the step up to the Premier League? I'm not quite sure. Momentum is a powerful thing in football though, and they did end last season with a 4-game unbeaten streak to help them claw themselves out of the trapdoor. But for such a proud and historic club, the fact that they won't even have a 3rd consecutive season of top flight football under their belts is quite sad. But I sadly think that is going to be the case. And so my 3 relegated sides are West Brom, Crystal Palace and Aston Villa. In 17th place, I've gone with Fulham. Now, Fulham are tipped by many to return straight back down to the Championship, but despite minimal transfer business, with Mario Lemina and Kenny Tete being the highlights, I think they have learned from their previous time in the Premier League when they spent £100 million+ and plummeted without a trace. Scott Parker looks like a decent manager, and Fulham, I think, have a capable, motivated and hungry squad determined to prove all the doubters wrong. They'll survive this season and then kick on next, I think. 16th place, we have the Seagulls of Brighton. Now, I predicted them to be relegated last year, but I'm not making that same mistake again. Brighton have, admittedly, only just survived in their 3 seasons in the Premier League, and whilst their time will come eventually, because you can only hover above the trapdoor for so long, I don't think it will be this season. Alan Milana could link up perfectly with Pascal Gross in midfield, although Joel Veltman could be either the perfect centre-back partner for Lewis Dunk or the next Jaro Riedewald. A decent squad and a manager trying to do things differently and play his own way of passing football in the thick of a relegation battle will see the Seagulls flying into the Premier League next season, but more long-termism needs to be thought ahead for in terms of the playing staff at the club, in my opinion. In 15th place, I've got West Ham. Normally I predict West Ham to finish quite high, like I did last season when I predicted them to finish 10th, and they finished quite low, as they did last season when they finished 16th. So now I'm counteracting this and being a lot more cautious, so I'm predicting them to finish quite low down the league, and as a result of this they'll probably go on and win the league. However, whilst their squad is actually quite decent in and of itself, I'm still not sure about the chemistry of the side, no decent business has been made, Sebastian Haller seems out of confidence, and David Moyes is still in charge. I wouldn't put it against them to be relegated this season, but 15th I think seems about right for now, even though I know that this squad should be much higher, certainly in the top half at the very least. The last newly promoted side to feature comes in at 14th, as I'm going for Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds.
How on earth did they sign Rodrigo?
A man who was touted for Atletico Madrid last year has signed for Leeds? How? This is literally the 2020 equivalent of Jean-Michel Seri, who was linked to Barcelona in 2017 and then joined Fulham randomly in 2018 and then subsequently flopped. However, Rodrigo could be a huge piece of the jigsaw to this side, alongside Robin Koch in defence, who is another new arrival from Germany. Furthermore, never underestimate Marcelo Bielsa. This man is undoubtedly volatile in terms of his stability at a job, but they stormed the championship last season. He seems happy enough, and finally, footballing purists will be able to see Bielsa in the Premier League, the man who of course inspired many such as Pochettino and Guardiola. In my opinion, Leeds will probably fare out quite well, not amazingly as some Leeds fans are predicting, but certainly no way near any relegation trouble. In 13th place, I've got the surprise package of last season in Sheffield United. Since last season, most people, including me, ended up with egg on their faces after they predicted Sheffield United to either be relegated or finish bottom of the league, but the Yorkshire outfit defied all expectations and finished in 9th. Now it's a case of, can they push on, or will they suffer from second season syndrome? I think it'll be somewhere in the middle. They'll certainly take a backward step, but nowhere near a drastic one. Even though Aaron Ramsdale is a capable Dean Henderson replacement, he isn't Dean Henderson, obviously. Although Ethan Ampadu could be a great signing for Chelsea, a transfer which certainly slipped my radar. Chris Wilder could prove me wrong once again, and I'd love to see it happen, but I think 13th is what I'm going for, and I think it's right for the squad that they have. In 12th position, I've gone with the final claret side in Burnley. You know what you're getting with Burnley, simple, unattractive football, lumping it down to the big target men up top. But my goodness me, has it proved effective. Considering the last 3 seasons in the Premier League, they finished in 7th, 14th and then 10th last season, only 2 points off their 7th place finish 2 seasons prior. JamesFR has been linked with a move elsewhere, although he hasn't moved as of the time of this recording, and it would be a huge loss to them. But with Nick Pope still in goal, Ben Mee and Dwight McNeil looking happy to stick around, and Ashley Barnes still continuing to bulldoze his way through defences, Burnley will solidify themselves in mid-table once more, although I think they will finish a little bit lower than what they did last season. In 11th place, I think this is my second bold call in the predictions so far, and I'm going with the Geordies of Newcastle. For the first time in about 5 years, I think Newcastle's transfer business has actually been really good. I thought Jeff Hendrick alone on a free would be typical Newcastle, but then all of a sudden, both Callum Wilson and Ryan Fraser came through the door. Bear in mind, I think they hold the record for like the most goal contributions between each other in an entire Premier League season, or since Alan Shearer and Chris Sutton at Blackburn in 1995. So those are 2 huge coups for Newcastle. Furthermore, Jamal Lewis, a promising defender from Norwich, also arrived in the summer. I was taken aback. Mike Ashley's actually making some decent business?
What is going on?
I mean, it is 2020 after all, and clearly things are going a bit mental, so why should I be surprised? With all that in mind, and as long as Joe Linton never ever plays again, I can see them taking a bold step in the right direction, and with more to come in the future. Mind you, it is Newcastle, and anything can happen with Mike Ashley, or a despotic prince of a human rights violating country, at the helm. So, again, I'm approaching this one with a little bit of caution. I wouldn't be surprised if I got this one completely wrong, but I'm going with Newcastle in 11th, and we'll have to wait and see how that prediction turns out. In 10th place, I've got the Saints of Southampton. My bold call last season, which I did actually get bang on, I don't see Southampton losing 9-0 again this season, and they will improve on their 11th place finish this season, albeit only just. Danny Ings undoubtedly had a season last season which he will probably never recreate, and I think he'll probably admit that himself, but he will still be firing on all cylinders, make no mistake about it, as made Che Adams, especially after his brilliant goal against Man City in July. Furthermore, their defence has been strengthened with the additions of Kyle Walker-Peters from Spurs and Mohamed Salisu from Real Valladolid, and I rate Ralph Hasenhüttl highly. He's certainly way too good for the Saints. They won't return to the glory days of Pochettino or Koeman for a while, I think, but 10th will be seen as another good season and definitely another step in the right direction. I was toying with the positions between 9th and 6th so much, and I'm not even sure if I'm personally happy with them myself, but my 9th place team is going to take a huge step back from last season, and I think it will be Leicester. The loss of Ben Chilwell will hurt, even though Timothy Castagne has arrived from Atalanta to try and bridge the gap, and their momentum is really low right now. 24 points from 22 games is just about heads above waterfall, never mind a team challenging for the Champions League as Leicester were last season. Although they will definitely arrest the slide somewhat, it isn't a promising sign, and if more key players leave over the coming weeks, who knows where they may end up. Brendan Rodgers might be out of a job by the time I react to this. In 8th, I've got Wolves once again. They're such an impressive side under Nuno Espirito Santo, and 2 consecutive 7th place finishes show that their first season in the top 5, when of course they finished 7th, was absolutely no fluke whatsoever. However, they have lost club stalwart Matt Doherty to Spurs, and the purchase of Fabio Silva, an 18-year-old striker with just 21 senior appearances and 3 goals to his name, for £35 million, a club record buy, represents a huge risk, which I don't think will pay off straight away. Undoubtedly though, their squad is exceptional, and they will challenge for Europe, but ultimately just fall short once again, but only just. In 7th place, I've got the second Merseyside club in Everton. I was originally going to be quite cautious with Everton because every time I predict them to do well, they normally end up disappointing me. So I was going to predict them to finish in like 11th or 10th, but then suddenly, bang! Alan comes in from Napoli, bang! Abdoulaye Doucouré comes in from Watford, bang! James bloody Rodriguez comes in from Real Madrid.
What is that about?
Their midfield now looks ridiculous, and if Dominic Calvert-Lewin can return to his goal-scoring ways, with Carlo Ancelotti at the helm, they will most definitely push for Europe, and will push 6th place all the way. The only things which put them in 7th, and I was so close to putting them in 6th, are their goalkeeper and defence, which I'm still not 100% convinced by. But make no mistake about it, Everton are on the charge. I really wanted to be hipster and try and predict that some team would finish in 6th outside of the traditional big 6, but I've decided to basically just stick to my guns and go with all of the standard top 6 sides to finish in the top 6. And in 6th place, I've gone with Spurs. Spurs fell off completely last year, dropping to 6th in the league, and I just can't see them being as revitalised as they might want to be anytime soon. Yes, Matt Doherty is a great buy, and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg could be one to watch, but I'm still not overly convinced by Harry Kane's fitness, or if Dele Alli can return to those sparkling heights that he achieved between 2015 and 2017. Furthermore, considering the moves made by their top 4 rivals, I think Spurs are slightly lagging behind, so I think 6th is just about right, but as I said earlier, they will be fought all the way by Everton. In 5th place, I've gone with the other North London club in Arsenal. Despite last season being the worst in a generation for the Gunners, the early signs, I think, are quite positive. A convincing win in the FA Cup last season and in the Community Shield a couple of weeks back against Liverpool, the purchase of defender Gabriel from Lille, who looks like a good signing, the recapturing of Dani Ceballos on a season-long loan from Real Madrid, and Mikel Arteta looking to embed his ideas into the club even more than last season. I think all of those things coming together could mean that Arsenal challenge once more for the top 4. I think the Champions League is still just about out of reach, but I think if Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, Alexandre Lacazette and Nicolas Pepe can start firing on all cylinders once again, or once more, depending where applicable, this prediction could look antiquated before too long. In 4th place, as much as it pains me to do so, I'm going with the cross-city rivals of Manchester United. Man United's midfield is absolutely frightening. When you think about it, their midfield consists of Bruno Fernandes, Paul Pogba, the rejuvenated Fred, and of course the new arrival of Donny van de Beek. So obviously, it is a force to be reckoned with. And Marcus Rashford and Mason Greenwood, plus of course Anthony Martial, only look like they're going to continue improving. Furthermore, they finished last season on a 14-game unbeaten streak to snatch the Champions League spot away from Leicester City, and they'll finish on a much higher points total this season than 66. However, I'm going with 4th, as their defence is still a bit worrying to me, and David De Gea, if they persist with him, is undoubtedly on a decline. Is the time for Dean Henderson as Man United's number 1 now? I think the top 3 that I've gone with is the top 3, maybe not in the exact order, but the top 3 that most people will predict to occur. But in 3rd place, I'm going with Chelsea. I was so close to putting Chelsea in 2nd because their squad now looks scary. I mean, they've brought in Kai Havertz and Timo Werner, 2 Germany colleagues who I think could be mainstays in the Blues side for the next 10 years at the very least. Hakim Ziyech is also an amazing buy from Ajax, Ben Chilwell will provide a competent left back unlike Marcus Alonso, and Thiago Silva on a free is a fantastic transfer, and of course they'll bring in Malang Sarr next season after he returns from his loan. So Thiago Silva is almost there as like a bridge to the gap situation, and he will provide undoubtedly incredible experience for Malang Sarr as he continues to develop. There are 2 things which stop me putting them higher though. Number 1 is that I'm not 100% sure if they will gel instantaneously as a team or as a unit. Plus of course all the youth players that are left behind. And number 2, they desperately need a new goalkeeper. Although Edouard Mendy has been linked, he hasn't been signed as of the time of this recording. Kepa has proved an expensive flopper in England at £71 million, with Chelsea letting in more goals last season than any other top 4 side in the history of the Premier League, barring 1. Those things considered, I think they'll finish in 3rd, but they'll be much closer to 1st than to 5th this coming season. Now, of course, is the big one. Who is going to win the Premier League, in my opinion? I think it's between Man City and Liverpool, and I'm not making the same mistake twice, and I'm going to put Man City, my team, regrettably, in 2nd. David Silva is a huge loss, as is Leroy Sané, but they've been well replaced by Ferran Torres on a cut-price £20 million deal from Valencia, and Phil Foden, who of course cost nothing. Surely now is his time to step up and become a mainstay in the City side. Nathan Ake, too, is someone in the Guardiola mould, and someone who could definitely flourish alongside Aymeric Laporte. I mean, he'd do much better than John Stones and Nicolas Otamendi. However, while City were undoubtedly wounded last season and will be a different beast this coming season, they may also have a focus on the holy grail of the Champions League, as they are yet to pass the quarterfinals under Pep's stewardship, which may distract them. Plus, I cannot overlook 9 league defeats last season, including to Wolves twice, Southampton, and to relegated Norwich. On their day, City can pulverise anyone as they showed post-lockdown, but I fear it just won't be enough, and although it will be much closer than last season's 18-point gap, it won't be enough. And as you might have deduced by now, in first place, as much as it pains me to do this, I just think that Liverpool are going to equal Man United's record of 20 top flight titles this coming season, and therefore they will be the winners of the Premier League.
Damn it.
I opined that Liverpool's lack of transfer business last season will hinder them, but it most certainly didn't, and they have the perfect blend of youth and experience to guide them through. If they do sign Thiago Alcantara from Bayern Munich, the league will most definitely be theirs, as he will provide the creative spark that their midfield has been crying out for the last few seasons, ever since Coutinho's departure. Apart from Thiago and a backup to the front three of Mane, Salah and Firmino, they don't really need to sign anyone else. And besides that, obviously, their squad is there already, and the way they play is absolutely frightening. Sadly, in all things considered, I think it will mean that Jurgen Klopp's Reds will cement themselves at the top of the Premier League table once more. How long will their dynasty reign for? So those are my Premier League predictions for this coming season, but before I leave you, I thought I'd also give my take as to who I think will win the high-profile European competitions this coming season, and the Championship. For the Championship last season, I went with Fulham, and whilst they didn't win the league, they did go up via the playoffs, so it wasn't too dismal a call, if I may say so myself. This season, I've gone with Watford, since their squad is undoubtedly Premier League quality, it's just that their owners are awful, but we can disregard that point for now. The sale of Abdoulaye Doucouré will hurt, but as of the time of this recording, Andre Gray, Troy Deeney, Gerard Deulofeu and Roberto Pereira, an ex-Champions League finalist for Juventus, are still around, as well as Ben Foster, who is one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, never mind the Championship. Therefore, even with the rookie manager Vladimir Ivic at the helm, I think Watford will go straight back up to the Premier League, where their fans will undoubtedly feel they belong. Over to Europe, and for Ligue 1, I've gone with, obviously, PSG, because why would you go for any other team? I mean, I'd love to be hipster and say like a team like Lyon or Marseille or Lille will win it, but the Champions League finalists just steamroll the league every year, and they will do so once again, even though they lost their first game last night to Lens. Kylian Mbappe, Neymar, Mario Icardi, Marquinhos and co will obviously find themselves once again champions of France, and I think that's the most obvious prediction that I will give in this video. In Italy though, I am going to go rogue, and I'm going to say that Inter Milan will win it ahead of Juventus. This is definitely one which I'm certain I will get wrong, but Juventus didn't win the league that comfortably last season, finishing only 1 point ahead of the Nerazzurri, and their eyes must now be fixed on Champions League glory, considering they haven't won it since the mid-90s. Even though Juve have undoubtedly strengthened with Artur Melo coming in from Barcelona and Weston McKennie on a loan from Schalke, when I saw Inter play, they looked an absolute class act, and I think that now is the time that Juve's dominance over the Italian game may just end. Achraf Hakimi is an amazing signing from Real Madrid, and Alexis Sanchez and Nicolo Barrea's loans have been made permanent. With the squad already including players like Lautaro Martinez, Romelu Lukaku, Diego Godin and Samir Handanovic, I think that Inter may just overhaul the old lady to win their first title in 11 years. In Germany, I'm going to go with Bayern Munich to win the Bundesliga. Considering since Hansi Flick took over, they've won something like 31 out of 34 games, their style of play is an absolute joy to watch, their squad depth is absolutely incredible, with Leroy Sané only adding to that, and they won every single game in their UCL campaign last season to go on and win the damn thing, including scoring at least 7 goals twice during that competition. I think their hegemony over the German game is going to continue, and they're going to win their 9th straight title. For the La Liga crown, I'm going to go with Real Madrid. Since Barcelona are stumbling, I'll leave a link to a video that I made on Barcelona in the description if you haven't watched it already, and Atletico Madrid are not quite at the standard of Real Madrid just yet. And none of the other teams look likely to catch up, meaning that Real Madrid might just win it by a country mile. Zidane has galvanised his troops, and, barring the game against Man City in August, they have been top form ever since lockdown for football was ended, and as a result of that, I think their momentum into next season is going to continue, and that they'll win the Spanish League. Finally, my Champions League winners for next season are Bayern Munich. Quite frankly, they scare me. And considering their only real challenges like Juventus, Man City, Real Madrid and Liverpool, they'll easily beat all of them. They have the capability to beat absolutely every one of them into the ground. See, for example, the game against Barcelona. And so with that in mind, I think that Bayern Munich are going to win the Champions League and become only the second team since 1992 to win the Champions League title back to back. But that just about concludes my predictions for the upcoming 2020-21 season. Of course, I will look back on this whenever the season's done and see how many I got right and most probably wrong. And hopefully I'll at least get the title winners right. I mean, I hope I don't get the title winners right, actually. I really hope I get the title winners wrong. It's the one position I hope I get wrong. But otherwise, I really hope that I get a few extra positions right. And of course, we'll see how it goes. Let me know your predictions, of course, in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe for more. Remember that this is just my opinion, so don't throw hate at me. It's just what I think. Thank you very, very much for watching. And until next time, I'll see you then.